The story begins in a deserted and silent market, where the quiet is so profound that even the sound of a pin dropping in the air could be heard. Here, we see a family quietly gathering essential items without uttering a single word. This family is so terrified that they can't even muster the courage to talk to each other. Everyone is trying to communicate through gestures and eye signals. What is it that's instilled such fear in their hearts and forced them to remain silent like this? The head of this family is Lee, a wise and courageous father, and his wife is Evelyn, who stands by her family through every hardship. They have 3 children, the eldest daughter Reagan, who has been deaf since birth, and 2 sons, Marcus, who's sensible but scared, and the youngest Beau, who's still innocent and unaware of the world's harsh reality. Meanwhile, innocent Beau's eyes catch sight of a colorful toy rocket on the top shelf. His eyes light up, and in excitement, he tries to grab the rocket, but as soon as he picks it up, the rocket slips from his tiny hands and starts falling to the ground. Seeing this, lines of fear appear on the entire family's faces, and their breaths seem to stop. But then Reagan quickly catches the toy rocket in midair, and everyone breathes a sigh of relief. With a serious face, Lee gestures to everyone that the sun is about to set, and if they don't return home soon, they could be in great danger. But Beau, in his innocent stubbornness, picks up the toy rocket again. This rocket is battery operated, and if turned on, it could play loud music. A sound like that could be a death invitation for this family. Lee immediately snatches the rocket from Beau's hands and removes the batteries, placing them on the table. He sternly gestures that no more mistakes should happen. The family slowly prepares to leave the store, but Beau's eyes remain fixed on the rocket. Giving in to his stubbornness, Reagan secretly hands him the batteryless rocket to keep him quiet. But as they exit the store, Beau quietly picks up the batteries from the table and no one notices. Now the family lines up and carefully heads toward their home. On the way, we see that this city, which once buzzed with the loud sounds of cars, honking horns, and people's laughter and chatter, is now completely deserted and drowned in silence. There's no sign of any human, nor the chirping of birds. A terrifying quietness is spread everywhere, chilling the heart. Only a handful of people are left alive in the entire world, and this family of 5 is one of them. We see that the family has laid sand on the path to their home, so that even the sound of their bare feet walking isn't heard. Beau is walking behind Reagan, and is extremely happy to have his toy rocket, but his innocence proves costly when he inserts the batteries into the rocket and turns it on. Suddenly, loud music echoes from the rocket. Reagan, who can't hear, remains unaware of the sound, but Lee and Evelyn's faces turn pale with fear. Then, from the dense forests, a terrifying monster comes running toward Beau at lightning speed. It has no eyes, but its hearing ability is so sharp that it can detect even the faintest sound from miles away. Lee rushes toward Beau, trying to turn off the rocket, but it's too late by then. The horrific monster drags Beau away with it, and the family is plunged into shock. After that, the story jumps forward 1 year. Lee and his family have learned to survive in this horrifying world. Lee has secured their home like a fortress. He's created a research room where he's gathering every possible piece of information about the monster. Here, we learn that these monsters are completely blind, but their hearing ability is extraordinary. Even the slightest vibration in the air or a faint sound draws them toward it. If a person even breathes loudly, these monsters can catch them and finish them off in seconds. Their skin is stronger than iron, unaffected by any weapon or bullet. 1 year ago, these monsters arrived on Earth from space via a meteorite. Their speed and strength were so immense that in a short time, they devastated the entire world and nearly wiped out humanity. The only way to survive them was to remain absolutely silent. Lee and his family had understood this secret and were living their lives with utmost caution. Lee had installed CCTV cameras around their home to monitor the monster's movements. He'd made special marks on the stairs and paths so that footsteps wouldn't make a sound. Additionally, he'd prepared an underground bunker where he researched the monsters. He'd discovered that there were a total of 3 monsters in the area. Now, Lee was trying to find the monster's weakness. He was also sending signals for help worldwide via radio, but so far, he hadn't made contact with anyone. Meanwhile, we learn that Evelyn is pregnant and about to give birth to a new baby, which is going to be a new challenge for them in this dangerous world. In this perilous world where even a small sound can invite death, Lee and Evelyn are worried about their upcoming child. A newborn's cry is natural, but in this silent world, that cry could become their biggest threat. So, using his intelligence, Lee had prepared a soundproof box with an oxygen mask inside. The purpose was that if the baby cried, they could immediately place it in the box to prevent the sound from reaching the monsters. This precaution was a matter of life and death for the family. But Lee's biggest concern was his daughter Reagan, who had been deaf since birth. Her disability could be the biggest threat in this terrifying world because she couldn't hear the monster's movements to avoid them. Lee was working day and night to overcome his daughter's disability. He'd created created a special cochlear hearing amplifier for Reagan, putting all his technical knowledge and effort into it. He hands the device to Reagan, hoping it will make her life easier. But Reagan wasn't excited about the amplifier. Disappointment was clear on her face because Lee had made such devices many times before, and each time they failed. Reagan thought this new amplifier would also prove useless. In anger and frustration, she throws the device on the ground. But later, when she tries it, she's surprised. The amplifier was working. For the first time, hearing faint sounds from the outside world makes Reagan's eyes teary with joy. But this happiness quickly turns to sadness as she remembers her little brother Bo. Reagan still considers herself responsible for her brother's death. She feels that if she hadn't given Bo the toy rocket that day, he might still be alive. This guilt was weighing heavily on her heart. She wanted to prove herself to her father, to show that she could contribute to protecting the family. That's why she secretly heads toward her father's underground bunker, where Lee researched the monsters. But then Lee spots her and sternly stops her. After Bo's death a year ago, Lee's trust in Reagan had broken. He feared that in the bunker, with the microphones, radio, and other sensitive equipment, any small mistake by Reagan could put the entire family in danger. The next day, Lee heads to the river with his son Marcus to catch fish. Reagan, who wanted to spend time with her father, insists on going along. She repeatedly says, "Please take me too. I can help." But Lee flatly refuses. He says, "Your mother is alone at home. You need to take care of her." Hearing this, Regan's heart breaks. She feels that her father doesn't love her or trust her. Filled with anger and sorrow, Reagan packs her bag and sneaks out of the house. She reaches the painful place where the monster had killed her brother Bo. There, lying near Bo's grave, she bursts into tears. Her heart becomes heavy with that sorrow, and due to exhaustion, her eyes close right there. Meanwhile, at home, Evelyn was alone. She was washing clothes in the basement and carrying them out in a sack. But then a sharp nail on the stairs gets caught in the sack and straightens up right where Evelyn was about to step. In the darkness and haste, Evelyn doesn't see the nail. On the other side, Lee and Marcus are catching fish by the river. After a while, Lee takes Marcus to a waterfall where the sound of rushing water echoes loudly. He tells Marcus that here, you can talk freely. The waterfall's noise will drown out your voice, and nothing will reach the monsters. They both sit by the waterfall and share their hearts. Marcus asks, "Do you hold Reagan responsible for Bo's death?" Lee seriously replies, "No, Marcus. No one was at fault for Bo's death. It was an accident." But Marcus tells him that Reagan still blames herself and is burdened by this weight. He tells Lee that you should make it clear to Reagan that she wasn't responsible for the mistake. Meanwhile, at home, Evelyn was holding a picture of her deceased son Bo to her chest, shedding tears in his memory. Then suddenly, she starts having intense labor pains. Her face contorts in pain, and she realizes that delivery time has come. Evelyn was holding the photo frame of her deceased son to her chest, immersed in pain and sadness. Due to the intense labor pains, she quickly heads toward the basement, but in haste while descending the stairs, her foot lands hard on that sharp nail that had straightened after getting caught in the sack earlier. The pain was so intense that Evelyn's face turned red, and she writhed in agony. But in this horrifying world where even a small sound could summon death, she suppressed her pain and didn't let even a faint whimper escape her mouth. But then, the photo frame of Bo slips from her hands and falls to the ground with a loud crash, shattering. The sound echoes, piercing the silence, and Evelyn's heart starts pounding. Limping, dragging her blood-soaked foot, Evelyn somehow reaches the basement and turns on the light switch. Outside, the red light immediately turns on, signaling danger. She starts heading back upstairs, but then notices a terrifying monster has already entered their home. The sound of the photo frame falling had drawn the monster toward them. Trembling with fear, Evelyn immediately hides behind a wall, holding her breath so that even the faintest sound doesn't reach the monster. On the other side, Lee and Marcus are returning home with the fish. Then, from afar, they see the red lights flashing around their house. Lee's heart sinks. He realizes Evelyn is in danger. He gestures to Marcus and rushes toward the house. In the basement, hidden Evelyn's body is trembling from fear and labor pains. The monster is searching every corner of the house for her. Its sharp hearing is picking up even the slightest movement in the air. Then Evelyn spots an old timer. Using her wits, she sets a few seconds on the timer and places it in one corner of the basement. Then she quickly hides in another corner. The monster catches the faint tick-tick of the timer and slowly moves in that direction. It was now very close to Evelyn. Evelyn's heart was pounding, but she kept herself completely under control. She knew that one small mistake could end her life and that of her unborn child. Then the timer's alarm rings loudly. The monster rushes toward the sound at lightning speed. Meanwhile, Lee and Marcus have reached near the house. Lee spots the monster from afar and realizes that if he enters the house directly, not only Evelyn, but he and Marcus could also become the monster's prey. No weapon could penetrate the monster's iron-like skin, so so Lee starts implementing his pre-prepared plan. Lee hands Marcus a flashlight and tells him to run quickly toward the flare rockets that they had set up far from the house earlier. Marcus runs toward them without wasting time. Meanwhile, Evelyn has reached the upstairs bathroom. She lies in the bathtub, groaning from labor pains. She can't hold the baby back anymore. The monster's movements are getting closer, and even the faintest sound of her sobs could put her in danger. She realizes that escaping now is almost impossible. Then, a loud explosion happens outside. Marcus has lit the flare rockets. Loud noise and bright light spread across the sky. The monster, which had reached near the bathroom, runs toward that sound and leaves Evelyn there. Taking advantage of this opportunity, Evelyn suppresses all her pain and screams loudly. Her scream gets drowned in the noise of the rockets. From afar, Reagan, sleeping near Beau's grave, sees the light and sound of the rockets and immediately runs toward home. Meanwhile, Lee enters the house with a gun. He sees blood stains on the stairs leading to the bathroom. His heart trembles with fear. Reaching the bathroom, he sees the bathtub red with blood. He thinks Evelyn has become the monster's victim. With teary eyes, he breaks down and sits there. But then someone places a hand on the shower room glass. Lee looks up, startled. It's Evelyn. She hadn't lost courage amid this unbearable pain and danger and had given birth to a healthy son. Lee's joy knows no bounds, but the danger isn't over yet. He immediately picks up Evelyn and the newborn and runs toward the underground basement where the soundproof box is kept. But before entering the basement, the baby starts crying. His tiny cry echoes, piercing the silence. The monster catches it immediately and starts running toward them at lightning speed. Lee quickly enters the underground room and covers the door with a thick, heavy mattress so that no sound escapes. He promptly puts an oxygen mask on the baby's mouth and shuts him in the soundproof box. The baby's crying stops immediately, and Lee and Evelyn breathe a sigh of relief, but the danger still hasn't passed. Lee looks at his wife Evelyn and says in a serious tone, "I've found the monster's weakness. Now I'm going to make a weapon that can save us from them." There was confidence in his voice, but the lack of time and the increasing threat from the monsters was making him restless. Meanwhile, Reagan is returning home. In the darkness of night, amid the fields, she sees a flickering light. With curiosity and hope, she starts moving toward that light, unaware that a monster has caught the faint sound of her footsteps and is quietly following her. As soon as the monster gets close enough to attack Reagan, suddenly a sharp, high-frequency sound starts emitting from Reagan's cochlear implant. This sound is so intense that the monster starts writhing as if hundreds of needles are piercing its ears. It can't bear this unbearable sound and quickly flees from there. Reagan is also bothered by this frequency. But as soon as the monster flees, her ear pain stops too. She was astonished and couldn't understand why her machine did that. Was this the monster's weakness? With this question in mind, she continues toward the light. Then she sees that the light is from a flashlight lying on the ground. As she bends to pick it up, someone grabs her hand tightly. Reagan trembles with fear, but then she sees it's none other than her brother Marcus. Marcus, trembling with fear and hiding in the bushes, breathes a sigh of relief upon seeing Reagan and says, "I was watching you from afar. That monster was behind you, but suddenly it ran away. I don't understand why that happened." Hearing this, Reagan's face turns pale with fear because she had no idea the monster was so close. She starts thinking about that strange frequency from her machine, but for now, she doesn't pay much attention to it. Meanwhile, in the underground room, Evelyn is worried about her children. She tells Lee, "I'm scared that the monster might have harmed Reagan and Marcus. Please go find them." Her voice clearly reflects a mother's pain and fear. Lee leaves Evelyn and the baby safely near the soundproof box and goes out to find the children. He carefully starts checking around the house, but the monster isn't there anymore. However, it had wrecked the house. A water pipe had broken, and water was rapidly filling the underground room below. Lee's attention isn't on this because his full focus is on finding his children. He runs toward the fields where the risk of monsters' movements could increase. Meanwhile, Reagan and Marcus are hiding on top of a grain silo. They've lit a small fire so that Lee can spot their location from the light, but due to exhaustion and fear, Reagan's patience is wearing thin. She feels like maybe their father won't come to save them now. She tells Marcus, "I'll go home alone now." Marcus tries to stop her because he has full trust in his father. But as soon as Marcus steps forward to stop Reagan, the silo's door suddenly opens, and he slips and falls into the pile of grain. While falling, a loud scream escapes his mouth, echoing through the silence. Meanwhile, the monster present in the house immediately catches this sound and runs in that direction. Evelyn, who was in the basement, is saved from this sound, but now Marcus's life is in danger. The grain silo was like quicksand, and the more Marcus tries to get out, the deeper he sinks. Reagan shows courage and breaks the silo's door, throwing it into the grain pile. Then she jumps into the silo herself. Just as Marcus is about to drown completely, Reagan grabs him and pulls him up, and both climb onto that broken door. This way, their lives are saved by a hair. Meanwhile, in the basement, Evelyn's eyes open from the sound of water. She sees that the entire basement is flooded with water pouring down like a waterfall from above. Her eyes fall on the soundproof box, which is open. No sound is coming from the baby, making Evelyn's heart sink with fear. She slowly moves toward the box, and then she sees a monster right in front of her. Her body goes cold, and she thinks the monster has harmed her baby. But as she gets closer to the box, she sees that her baby is safe and sound. Luckily, the baby hadn't made any sound, saving his life. Evelyn holds the baby to her chest and quietly hides in a corner. But the monster is still lurking nearby, and if the baby makes even the slightest sound, their death is certain. But the monster had caught the faint rustle from Reagan and Marcus's movements. Its sharp hearing drew it toward the grain silo in the fields. Lee, watching from afar as the monster runs toward the silo at lightning speed, realizes that both his children are there. Reagan had saved Marcus's life, but their noise was now about to cause their death. In the next moment, that terrifying monster jumps into the silo. Its red eyes glow in the dark, and it starts advancing toward Reagan and Marcus. Then suddenly, that same sharp, high-frequency sound starts emitting from Regan's cochlear implant again. This sound is unbearable for the monster, as if hundreds of needles are piercing its head. It starts writhing and quickly flees the silo without attacking them. Reagan and Marcus escape death by a hair, both trembling with fear. They exit the silo where Lee, searching for them, has arrived. Seeing his children safe, Lee's eyes fill with joy, but he immediately sends them toward the truck standing in front. He himself picks up an axe and starts scanning the surroundings alertly, but he doesn't know that the monster is hidden right above him in the tree branches. As soon as Lee turns back to look, the monster strikes him hard with its massive claws and throws him away. Lee's body hits the ground and he groans in pain. Seeing this, Marcus screams in fear. "Papa!" His voice draws the monster's attention toward him. Now it starts advancing quickly toward Reagan and Marcus. Then, the same high-frequency sound starts from Reagan's implant again. This sound is bothering her too, and she accidentally turns off her machine. This was her biggest mistake. She didn't know that this frequency was the monster's weakness, causing it unbearable pain. As soon as the machine turns off, the monster attacks the truck and tries to reach Marcus. Meanwhile, Lee has regained consciousness. Seeing his children in danger, he realizes that no weapon can penetrate the monster's tough skin. Now only one way is left. He looks toward Reagan and gestures. "I love you very much. Reagan, you never made any mistake. Bo's death wasn't your fault. Nothing will happen to you as long as I'm here." Then, gathering all his strength, he screams loudly. The monster turns toward his voice and in one swipe, tears Lee apart and kills him. Seeing her father die, Reagan's heart breaks. She always thought her father didn't love her, but now she realizes how wrong she was. Lee had sacrificed his life to save his children. After killing Lee, the monster leaves. Meanwhile, Evelyn is watching all this from the CCTV room, and her heart is breaking with sorrow. Reagan starts the truck and reaches home with Marcus. Seeing her children safe, Evelyn hugs them tightly, but their eyes are drowned in the grief of Lee's death. Then, on the CCTV screen, they see the monster heading toward their house again. They immediately run inside the house, where Reagan and Marcus see their newborn brother. Reagan's eyes fall on her father's research room, where Lee had put so much effort into her cochlear implant. Her heart grows heavier with memories of her father. Then the monster enters the house. Evelyn gathers courage and aims the gun, but she knows her bullet can't penetrate the monster's thick skin. Death is now right in front of their eyes, but just as the monster is about to pounce on them, pain starts in Reagan's ears again. She sees that the monster starts writhing at the same time. Reagan suddenly understands that there was a deep connection between her implant's frequency and the monster's pain. She looks at her father's research notes and finds that Lee had discovered the monster's weakness, the high-pitch frequency. Every time the monster came close, this frequency gave it unbearable pain. Reagan immediately increases the power of her implant. The high-pitch frequency becomes even stronger, and the monster's pain becomes unbearable. It starts writhing intensely as if its body is being pierced by needles. Evelyn sees that this frequency is the monster's weakness, but Reagan is also in intense pain in her ears. She shows quick thinking and connects her implant to a microphone, making the frequency even stronger. The monster's armored head starts opening, revealing its weak mouth. Evelyn takes advantage of the moment and fires her shotgun straight into the monster's mouth. The monster's skull bursts like a balloon and it dies instantly, but the danger isn't completely over yet. The The sound of the gunshot has drawn the other two monsters in the area toward them. Now Evelyn and Reagan know the monster's weakness. Reagan increases the microphone's volume further, causing the high-pitched frequency to echo throughout the house. Evelyn readies her gun and stands to face the incoming monsters. On their faces, instead of fear, there is now confidence because they have the weapon that can eliminate these monsters. With this thrilling and scary story reaches its climax and ends. If you liked this movie explanation, don't forget to subscribe to our channel and definitely like this video. If you want to see the second part of this movie, then write part 2 in the comments below. Your every support motivates us to bring better stories.